Good morning, students. Welcome to Computer Organization class. This is Veena A. Patil from Department of CSE BLE CET Vijaypur. In the last video, we have studied about the memory hierarchy, cache memories, and mapping functions or algorithms. So in this video, we are going to learn about replacement algorithm. Now, when the cache is full and a new data or instruction not present in the cache is to be obtained from main memory, some cache block has to be swapped to the main memory to make way for the new item. The set of rules that govern this decision making constitute what is known as a replacement algorithm. So this is fully carried out by the cache control or memory control hardware with the support of operating system. Now in a direct mapped cache, the cache block position is fixed, hence arbitrarily a new block cannot be brought into the cache. So there is no replacement strategy. Whereas associative and selective mapping, they allow some flexibility. Now if a new block is to be brought in, cache controller must decide which of the old block is to be replaced. That is, it has to identify the victim block. With although seems to be trivial, may affect the performance in a big way due to the cache miss and delay in giving the required data to the processor. Hence, a replacement algorithm plays a critical role in determining the overall memory access patterns, and hence the system performance is computationally in computationally intensive scientific or graphical applications, etc. In general, the objective is to keep blocks in the cache that are likely to be referenced in the near future, but it is not easy to determine which block are about to be referenced. So the property of locality of reference in program, it gives a clue to a reasonable strategy, because programs execution usually starts in localized areas for a reasonable period of time. There is a highly probability that the blocks that have been referenced recently will be referred again soon. So therefore, when a block is to be overwritten, it is sensible to overwrite the one that has gone the longest time without being referenced. So this block is called the least recently used block, and the technique is called the LRU replacement algorithm. So let's see how LRU replacement algorithm works. Now to use the LRU algorithm, the cache controller must track references to all blocks as computation proceeds. Suppose it is required to trace the LRU block for a 4-block set in a set associative cache. A 2-bit counter can be used for each block, because 4 block I need 2 bits to identify each block. So when a hit occurs, the counter of the block that is referenced is set to 1. So this counter will automatically set to 0. This counter automatically it sets the value of the counter. Now if a hit occurs, the counter of the block that is referenced is set to 0. Remember, it is not set to 1, it is set to 0. Now counters with values originally lower than the reference 1 are incremented by 1, and all other remain unchanged. Concentrate on this. Counters with values originally lower than the referenced 1 are incremented by 1, and all other remaining unchanged. That is, the blocks which are not referred, the counter of those blocks will be incremented and the counter of the referred block will be decremented. So the counter associated with the new block loaded from the main memory is set to 0, and the values of all other counters are incremented by 1. So the recently referred block count will be reduced by 1, whereas non-referred counter blocks will be increased by 1. So when a miss occurs and the set is full, the block with the counter value, say 3, is removed. The new block is put in its place and its counter is set to 0. The other 3 block counters are incremented by 1. Now whenever a miss occurs, a new block has to be brought. So to bring the new block, the counter value is identified. Now the counter which has the highest count means this is the block which is least referred. So that block will be replaced by the new block, and the new block counter will be set to 0, and the remaining blocks counter will be incremented by 1. So it can be easily verified that the counter values of occupied blocks are always distinct. The LRU algorithm has been used extensively. Although it performs well for many access patterns, it can lead to poor performance in some cases. For example, it produces disappointment results when access are made to sequential elements of an array that is slightly too large to fit in the cache. Now, performance of the LRU algorithm can be improved by introducing a small amount of randomness in deciding which block to replace. Now, coming to performance consideration, let's see some of the points in performance consideration. A key design objective of a computer system is to achieve the best possible performance at the lowest possible cost. So price per performance ratio is a common measure of success. A performance of a processor, it depends on how fast machine instruction can be brought into the processor for execution and how fast the instruction can be executed. So the main purpose of this hierarchy is to create a memory that the processor sees as having a short access time and a large capacity. So cache improved performance is dependent on how frequently the requested instruction and data are found in the cache. Now coming to interleaving. Now let's see what is interleaving. Suppose that the main memory of a computer is structured as a collection of physically separated modules. Each module has its own address register. So we call it as a address buffer register, ABR, and data buffer register, DBR. So in this case, memory access can be done in more than one module at the same time. Thus, the average data transfer rate to and from the main memory is increased. So interleaved memory is more flexible in the sense that it can handle multiple independent accesses at a time. Interleaving actually divides the memory system into a number of memory modules. Each module has its own address buffer register, ABR, and the data buffer register, DBR. Now, arranges this addressing so that successive words in the address space are placed in different modules. When requests for memory access involve consecutive addresses, the access will be to different modules. Since parallel access to these modules is possible, the average rate of fetching words from main memory can be increased. Now, to illustrate how addresses are distributed over the modules, let's see the layout of the diagram. So there are two cases. One is consecutive words are placed in consecutive modules, and the other one is consecutive words are located in consecutive modules. Now let's see the first one. Here the high order k bits of address identify one of the n module, and the low order m bits just a minute. The low order m bits they refer to a particular word in that module as shown in the figure. Now when consecutive locations are accessed, such as block transfer from memory to cache, only one module is accessed. However, uh, devices with the DMA ability may access information in other modules at the same time. Now coming to the second module. In the second module, this is the module in which more effective and it is more effective and faster. Now here the low order k bits of the address selects a module, and the high order m bit it refers to a location within that module. Hence consecutive addresses are located in successive modules. Thus during a block transfer, several modules can be busy at a given time. Thus result in faster access to a block of data as well as higher average utilization of the memory system. So to implement interleaving structure, there must be 2 raised to k modules. So these two modules are important with respect to exam point of view. So to brief up, now uh, to explain you in brief, assume like for example we have a file over here, and the file contains say information like A, B, C, D, F, G, H, so on. Now this information in consecutive words are placed in a module. If say for example each alphabet is one word of information, then how they are going to be stored here. Now to show that, say for example like A, B, C, D will be stored in one module, assuming the capacity is 4 words. Then E, F, G, H will be stored in another. Then I, J, K, like this. Consecutive words will be placed in a module. So when a block of word is transferred from main memory to cache, only one module will be busy at a time. So say for example, I want to save this block of values. So only one module will be busy at a time, whereas other modules will be free. But in case of consecutive words are located in consecutive modules, in this, if say my file is containing same A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, so on, then as I told you, here if each alphabet represents a word of information, then it will be stored like A will be stored in the first module, B in the second module, C in the next, D next, say assuming there are 4 modules. Then again it will be stored like E, F, G, H, ij. So in this fashion, the information will be stored. So now if we want to transfer a block of data, say for example A to D, we want to transfer, then here all the four modules will be involved. That is, several memory modules can be kept busy at the same time. Right? That is the difference between consecutive words are placed in a module and consecutive words are located in consecutive modules. I hope you have understood. Now let's come to the next topic, that is performance consideration, in that hit rate and miss penalty. Now recall that a successful access to data in a cache is called a hit, which we have already learned. The number of hits stated as a fraction of all attempted accesses is called the hit rate, and the miss rate is the number of misses stated as a fraction of attempted accesses. Now, ideally, the entire memory hierarchy would appear to the processor as a single memory unit that has the access time of the cache on the processor chip and the size of magnetic disk. Now, how close we get to this ideal depends largely on the hit rate at different levels of the hierarchy. Now, highly hit rates will uh, well over 0.9 are essential for high performance of the computer. I hope you have understood what is hit rate. Hit rate is nothing but whenever a processor tries to fetch any data from the cache, and if the data is present in the cache, we call it as a hit. And whenever the data is not there in the cache, it has to be copied from the main memory into the cache memory. So whenever the data is not there in the cache, we say a miss has occurred. So what is hit rate? Hit rate means uh, say 10 times the processor has accessed the cache, and out of 10 times, 8 times the data is available in the cache, 2 times the data is not available in the cache. So hit rate, it is nothing but it is the number of hits stated as a fraction of all attempted accesses. It is number of hits divided by number of accesses. So miss rate will be, it is nothing but the number of misses, that is 2 misses divided by total number of attempts. Okay. Now if the hit rate is closer to 1, that is at the max it can be up to 0.9. The more closer it is to 1 hit rate, the more is the performance of the computer. So performance is adversely affected by the actions that need to be taken when a miss occurs. Now a performance penalty is incurred uh, because of the extra time needed to bring a block of data from a slower unit in the memory hierarchy to a faster unit. That is from the main memory to the cache memory, or maybe secondary memory to the main memory, then to the cache memory. Now during that period, the processor is stalled, that is waiting for instructions or data. So the waiting time, it depends on the details of the operations of the cache. So we refer to the total access time seen by the processor when a miss occurs as the miss penalty. So this waiting time we call it as a miss penalty. So let's consider a system with only one level of cache. So in this case, the miss penalty constitutes almost entirely of the time to access a block of data in the main memory. Now let H be the hit rate, if M is the miss penalty and C is the time to access information in the cache. The average access time can be represented as T average is equal to hc plus 1 minus h of L. So this is the equation to calculate the average access time experienced by the processor. Now say for example, access time to the cache at the main memory are tau and 10 tau respectively. Now when a cache miss occurs, a block of 8 words is transferred from the main memory to the cache. It takes 10 tau to transfer the first word of the block, and the remaining 7 words are transferred at the rate of 1 word every 2 seconds. So the miss penalty also includes a delay of tau for the initial access to the cache, which misses, and another delay of tau to transfer the words to the processor after the block is loaded into the cache. So thus the miss penalty in this computer is given by m is equal to tau plus 10 tau plus 7 tau plus tau, which is equal to totally 90 tau. Now assume that 30% of the instruction in a typical program, it performs a read or a write operation, which means that there are 130 memory accesses for every 100 instruction executed. Assuming that the hit rate in the cache are 0.95 for instructions and 0.9 for data, and assume further that the miss penalty is the same for both read and write accesses, then a rough estimate of the improvement in memory performance that results from using the cache can be obtained as follows, that is time without cache and time with cache. Okay, time without cache over time with cache, which is equal to 130 into 10 tau divided by the equation I have given, 100 into 0.92 plus 0.05 tau into 19 tau plus 9.9 tau plus 0.1 into 19 tau whole into 30, which is equal to 4.7. So this result shows that the cache makes the memory appear almost 5 times faster than it really is. So the improvement factor increases as the speed of the cache increases relative to the main memory. So for example, if the access time of the main memory is 20 tau, the improvement factor becomes 7.3. So high hit rates are essential for the cache to be effective in reducing memory access time. Hit rates, it depends on the size of the cache, its design, and the instruction and data access patterns of the program being executed. It is instructive to consider how effective the cache of this example is compared to the ideal case in which the hit rate is 100%. Now with ideal case behavior, all memory reference take 1 tau. So thus an estimate of the increase in memory access time caused by misses in the cache would be given by time for real cache divided by time for ideal cache. So which is equal to the time for ideal cache is 130 tau. So the time for real cache is 100 into 0.95 tau plus 0.5 into 19 plus 0.9 tau plus 0.1 into 19 whole into 30, which is equal to 2.1. So in other words, we can say 100% hit rate in the cache would make the memory appear twice as fast as when realistic hit rates are used. So how can the hit rate be improved? Now one possibility is to make the cache larger, but this entails increased cost. Now, another possibility is to increase the cache block size while keeping the total cache size constant to take advantage of spatial locality. The high data rate achievable during block transfer is the main reason for this advantage. But larger blocks are effective only up to a certain size, beyond which the improvement in the hit rate is offset by the fact that some items may not be referenced being before the block is ejected or replaced. Also, large blocks take longer to transfer and hence increase the miss penalty. Now, since the performance of a computer is affected positively by increased hit rate and negatively by the increased miss penalty, block size should be neither too small nor too large. So, in practice, block sizes should be in the range of 16 to 128 bytes. They are the most popular choices. The miss penalty, it can be reduced if the load through approach is used when loading new blocks into the cache. Then instead of waiting for an entire block to be transferred, the processor resumes execution as soon as the required word is loaded into the cache. So most processor chips, they include at least one L1 cache. Often there are two separate L1 caches, one for instruction and another for the data. Now in high performance processor, two levels of caches are normally used, separate L1 cache for instruction and data and a larger L2 cache. So these caches are often implemented on the processor chip. Now in this case, the L1 cache must be very fast as they determine the memory access time seen by the processor. The L2 cache can be slower, but it should be much larger than the L1 cache to ensure a high hit rate. Now its speed is less critical because it only affects the miss penalty of the L1 caches. A typical computer may have L1 caches with capabilities of tens of kilobytes and an L2 cache of hundreds of kilobytes or possibly several megabytes. Now, including an L2 cache further, it reduces the impact of the main memory speed on the performance of a computer. Its effect can be assessed by observing that the average access time of the L2 cache is the miss penalty of either of the L1 caches. So for simplicity, we will assume that the hit rates are the same for instructions and data. Thus, the average access time experienced by the processor in such a system can be given as T average is equal to H1C1 plus 1 minus H1 into H2C2 plus 1 minus H2 into M1. So, whole this term is multiplied by 1 minus H1. So, where H1 is the hit rate in the L1 cache, H2 is the hit rate in the L2 cache, C1 is the time to access information in the L1 cache, and C2 is the miss penalty to transfer information from L2 cache to an L1 cache. M is the miss penalty to transfer information from the main memory to the L2 cache. Of all memory references made by the processor, the number of misses in the L2 cache is given by 1 minus H1 into 1 minus H2. So if both H1 and H2 are in 90% range, then the number of misses in L2 cache will be less than 1% of overall memory access. Now this makes the value of M and in turn the speed of the main memory less critical. Now other enhancements are like write buffer and write through. To improve performance, a write buffer can be included for temporary storage of the write request. Now, each write operation, it involves writing to the main memory. If the processor has to wait for the write operation to be completed, it slows down the process. A processor does not depend on the results of the write operation. So, write buffer can be included for temporary storage of a write request. A processor places each write request into the buffer and continues execution. Now, if a subsequent read request refers data which is still in the write buffer, then this data is referenced in the write buffer. So, this is how the performance can be increased. Now, another way is the write back. Now here block is written back to the main memory when it is replaced. If the processor waits for this write to complete before reading the new block, it is slowed down. Now fast write buffer can hold the block to be written and the new block can be read first. Prefetching. We have discussed that new data are brought into the processor when they are first needed. Processor has to wait before the data transfer is complete, prefetch the data into the cache before they are actually needed or before a read miss occurs. Now, prefetching can be accomplished through software by including a special instruction in the machine language of the processor. Inclusion of prefetch instruction increases the length of the program. Now, prefetching can also be accomplished using hardware. Now, circuitry that attempt to discover pattern in memory refers and references and then prefetches according to this pattern. Now, we have here lookup free cache. Now, in here prefetching scheme does not work if it stops other accesses to the cache until the prefetch is completed. Now a cache of this type is said to be looked while its services are missed. So cache structure which support multiple outstanding misses is called as a lookup free cache. Now since only one miss can be served at a time, a lookup free cache must include circuit that keeps track of all the outstanding misses. So special registry may hold the necessary information about these misses. So this is about how to enhance the performance. Now there are some more examples given in the textbook which are going to make use of the equations like the average time equations and other things. So just try to solve those examples, though I am not solving those examples here. Direct questions may be asked in the exam on these problems. So please refer textbook and try to solve the problems. So you can also refer Krishnananda book where many problems are solved more in an easy fashion. So that will help you in understanding. So till then, please read the textbook. So I'll sign off now. Thank you.